Hi everyone. Okay, so I'm very nervous. I have no slides. I had planned to come with a Danny Boyle style extravaganza today. I'd gone so far as to design little fortune cookies and have little messages in them and get them produced, and I was going to bring them along and we were all going to open them together and it was all going to be very exciting. And then I realized that by doing all of this is actually completely counter to what mindfulness actually is. I realized I was doing, trying to perform. And in fact, what mindfulness is really about is facing things just as they are. So I try to simmer things down to 15 minutes of how things are. And how things are is nervousness, which you can probably hear in my voice. Hand is trembling a little. If I stay with this, heart is beating. Feels like my heart is beating in my ears, a bit disconcerting. But never mind, we kind of just face it, stay with it. Shaking. But luckily for me, speaking about mindfulness, it's okay to talk about this because this is kind of like the human condition, really, is to be vulnerable. Mindfulness is really about facing everything, even if it's difficult. But it's facing things with a particular kind of attention, which is an attention and an attitude of not judging, of non-judgment. So if I was to stand here and start to judge myself and get it involved in my head about how I'm sounding nervous, this isn't going very well, I'm adding a whole other level of difficulty to what might be an uncomfortable experience, but in fact that's all it is. It's just a bit of discomfort. So I don't have to add a whole other level of trauma to just what it means to be standing in front of you and feeling a little bit nervous, and now it's calming down a little, which is good. But the key is not to judge it. The key is to allow yourselves to be vulnerable and to face whatever it is that is present. So with this in mind, I thought instead of me just speaking about myself, and I don't really have an interesting story to tell, all I have is this and how I'm feeling, I thought I'd use this as an opportunity for us to do a mindfulness practice together. So I don't know how many of you have mindfulness practices or have tried mindfulness before. Can I just have a show of hands? Quite a few. Okay. So regardless of whether or not you practice mindfulness, I'm going to guide us through, how much time do I have, Julian? I'm going to guide us through about a 5-minute practice.
15.
The practice won't be 15 minutes. So basically, this is just to give us all a first-hand experience of what it means to be completely present in this moment, regardless of what is happening. So I'm going to suggest that you sit comfortably. If you're standing, just stand comfortably. You can do this practice with your eyes open or closed. I would recommend closing your eyes because there's less distraction, but you certainly don't have to. You can just look down at the floor. And I'm going to guide us through just getting in touch with something that is happening now. And what is happening now is simply being here in your body. So we're going to just see what this is like, just to be in the body. So see if you can take your attention into your feet. Let's start with the feet. And just see if you can see how your feet are feeling. Not thinking about your feet, just noticing the contact they're making with the floor, the feeling of your feet in your shoes. And then allowing your attention to move upwards, so just becoming aware of where your body is in contact with your seat, back of your legs and your back. Noticing perhaps the feeling in your hands, warmth, coolness, touch, just the texture of your experience. And then allowing your attention to become a little wider, and now noticing how the rest of your body is feeling. You might notice pleasant sensations if there are parts of your body that are relaxed. Maybe there's some areas that are unpleasant, a little bit tense, fidgety, a bit of a pain somewhere. That's fine, we're not judging, we're just simply observing what is already present. And then shifting your attention into your breath, into your breathing. Maybe focusing at the spot just under the tip of the nose, feeling the air moving in and the sensation of the out-breath. Seeing if you can focus just on the texture, on the quality, the smoothness, the roughness, the silkiness of each breath. Just this breath in this moment. And if you find that your mind is drifting or you're getting distracted by thoughts, which is normal, see if you can just notice that. And then as best you can, without judging, just coming back to the flow of your breath. Nothing to improve, nothing to achieve, nothing to fix. Just simply being present with the breath, just as it is. And so now allowing your attention to shift from your breath and moving out into the space around you and beginning to absorb sound. Almost as if you were a very sensitive satellite dish and you're picking up all the various layers and textures of sounds, silences. And then when you're ready, if your eyes are closed, you can begin to open them. And see if you can notice how this feels now, having just done that short practice. There's no way that you should be feeling. You may notice that you're feeling more relaxed. This can often happen when we place our attention in the present moment, but you may not feel more relaxed. You may have actually got in touch with something that maybe you were avoiding by doing, the busyness of the mind, rushing, working. When we stop and we pay attention and there's that stillness, can sometimes contact what's actually going on underneath. And again, it may not be particularly pleasant, but that's all it is an unpleasant feeling. It's not wrong. And in fact, this is really what the power of mindfulness can give us, is by being able to still ourselves and just be with what is, regardless of what it is, without judging it. There's something quite profound that's actually happening in the brain, which we've already touched on, and something profound that's happening with the brain chemistry and in the body. And if there's one thing I can leave you with today as a habit or a tip, it would be to practice a 90-second pause. So I just want to tell you a little bit about this research that was done recently. I can't remember if it was at Yale University or Harvard. Yale. Still some nerves there. But basically what researchers found, they were studying difficult emotions. So what they found was, if you have a particularly tricky emotion that you're dealing with, for example, anger, that was the one that they were studying, and if you were sparked into feeling angry, and if you were able to acknowledge that you were angry, which is the first part of mindfulness, to simply acknowledge how you're feeling without judging, if you were able to acknowledge that, so you've kind of labeled it, no, I know what this is, it's anger. And then literally, if you were to sit down and time yourself 90 seconds, and for those 90 seconds, simply pay attention to the sensation of anger in the body. So you literally take your attention into the feeling. Okay, I can feel stomach is quite tense, jaw is tense, palms a bit sweaty. I can feel that there are angry thoughts going around in my head. Shoulders are tensing. I can feel I want to lash out. Simply noticing that for 90 seconds without reacting, immediately what will happen after those 90 seconds is that the chemical component of anger will flush itself out of your system. And what will happen more or less after these 90 seconds is you will return to a base of calm or of relative equanimity. If after the 90 seconds you are still angry, the reason why you are still angry is that you've got involved in your thoughts about the anger. You are thinking about why you're angry, what made you angry, you're plotting your revenge, what you're going to do later. You are caught up in this loop, this endless loop that we're often actually in about 80% of the day without actually realizing it. Caught up in thoughts about the future or the past, and that's what keeps the circuit going. So whenever you feel a little bit wobbly inside, if you're feeling a little bit stressed, if you feel you just need a little bit of centering, a little bit of grounding, best thing that you can do for yourself is invite yourself to take this pause. 90-second pause, and do nothing except just allow what is there to be there without adding more fuel to the flames. How much time do I have, Julian? Great. Okay, so I'm not going to talk much more about this. I'm just going to again suggest that we finish with 2 minutes of just paying attention to what's here. So you can do this with your eyes open this time. And even with your eyes open, because we've got to walk around the world with open eyes. Mindfulness is not always about sitting down in your little cave in the Himalayas with your eyes closed. It's about being where you are. So see if you can acknowledge, in the position that you're sitting in or standing, see if you can very gently turn your attention inward, even as you're looking at me, and just notice what's up for me right now. Notice the body. You might notice a strain of emotion, a flavor of an emotional, a mood, whatever that might be. We're not judging, we're just simply turning toward with interest. Ah, this is how it is. There's nothing special about this state. It's just pure being. It's just awareness. If you notice you're in your head, acknowledge that. See if you can come back down. Okay. Thanks, everyone.